and welcome back to another episode of Bird Brain Q&A. I am your co-host Pam Moore, question asker in chief. And Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lauren Benedict. I am a question answerer in chief, I believe. I'm an ornithologist and happy to talk about birds.
Yeah, and this is a video series for you. If you are bird curious, we want you to know that no question is too flighty for us.
Yes, so I actually am going to ask the first question, which is a follow-up on our last episode. Pam, did you get a chance to check out black-capped chickadees? And do you think that that is your flock?
I want to be totally transparent. I didn't get a chance to check them out, but before we hit record, Lauren gave me the professional rundown on what this bird is, and I am obsessed. If a person can decide that like they went from not knowing about something to being obsessed in about 90 seconds, I am. Because, Lauren, I'm going to try to summarize what you told me. Please chime in if I forgot anything. These birds are tiny. They're tough. Apparently, they bite really hard, which is unexpected given that they only weigh a few grams. They can survive incredibly cold winters. There's mountain ones, there's regular ones, and Lauren tells me they're very gregarious. They chat a lot, and all of those things. That's me. People who know me online have told me when they meet me in person that they thought I was tall, which is funny to me. I'm actually only 5 feet tall. So,
I think you are absolutely a black-capped chickadee, right? You get to hang out
yeah,
with your flock and chatter and have fun and enjoy the mountains and do all those things that you like to do.
I was so thrilled to find out since our last episode that we had some amazing questions from the community that we can answer.
And this for this episode, we had a bunch of questions that came in that had at least more or less something to do with the way that birds look. So I got some really great questions. We're thinking that this will be an overview of some random questions about how birds look.
Again, this is not for people who necessarily already have their binoculars and they go on a walk and they can point out like seven different birds. We are literally defining like what actually is a bird. Like this is for the bird curious. So, this is an awesome question from Emily in Colorado. Her question is Big Bird a bird? To continue, Emily asks, he looks kind of like one, but only kind of.
That is true.
Accurate.
I mean, Big Bird has all the characteristics of a bird. Big Bird has feathers. Any animal alive today that has feathers is a bird. So there you go. You got feathers, you're a bird. Big Bird has wings. Big Bird has a bill. Big Bird walks on two legs and has lots of other traits that absolutely make Big Bird a bird. I think that's the easiest way to define anything. There were, interestingly, dinosaurs that had feathers as well that weren't technically birds. But we can rule, I don't think Big Bird is extinct. So anything alive today with feathers qualifies as a bird for me.
You said anything with feathers is a bird. Do all birds have feathers?
Yes,
Okay. So can we just recap? They've got feathers. They walk on two legs,
they've got wings. Their four
wings.
limbs are modified into wings. So the ancestors of birds are reptiles, essentially. The ancestors of birds were dinosaurs. So birds are living dinosaurs. And, if you go further back, they were four-legged, probably lizard-like creatures. And at some point during evolutionary history, they changed and they evolved so that those front legs are no longer used for walking on the ground, but are used for flight. And so all birds have wings. Even if they don't fly, they still have wings and they have feathers. And in fact, I will say he is not even the biggest bird because there were things like extinct elephant birds that were 10 feet tall. So Big Bird's big, maybe not the biggest.
But in terms of who is living today,
Hmm.
what's the biggest or who's the biggest bird alive today?
Ostriches are the biggest birds alive today. And a tall male can be up to 9 feet tall at the top of his head. So they can get pretty big. I don't know how
Wow.
tall do you think Big Bird is?
If I had to guess, I'm gonna say 6'5".
Okay. We'll write to
Because
Sesame Street and ask.
yeah, I bet that's out there somewhere. I feel like we could fact check that somehow. I love this one. Why do birds' knees bend backwards? And can I take a stab at this one? Like,
Mhm.
and you can tell me how accurate I am or how silly I am or how bird-brained I am. My best guess of why do birds' knees bend backwards is because they're show offs. They just want to be like, I'm double jointed. I have a small brain, but I'm double jointed. Is that accurate?
I love that idea, but no, the actual answer is they don't. Birds' knees bend the same way that our knees bend. It looks like birds' knees bend backwards because what you see in the middle, what appears to be the middle of a bird's leg, if you're looking at a tall wading bird, there's a joint in the middle that bends this way, backwards. That's actually their ankle.
How
So
about
birds have
that?
really extended long foot bones beneath that ankle, and their foot is essentially just equivalent to our toes. So what you're seeing is the angle like this is the ankle, and the knee is hidden way up next to the body under the feathers where you can't see it bending the way that our knee bends.
Amazing. And we have another fascinating question. This one comes from Chris H. in Chicago. The question is, why are the birds in Australia and South America more colorful than the ones we see around Chicago?
Okay.
Should I take a stab at this one?
Please go for it.
Chicago just strikes me as kind of it's a cloudy city. Like people are maybe depressed for like 9 months out of the year. I just imagine these birds like smoking a cigarette and like with a hat pulled down. They're not like party people. They just want to like do their thing and go home and be done. They're like city people. They're city birds.
Yeah, those birds have just put on their city trench coats and black clothing and retired.
Yeah, that's how I feel. And I'm totally for anthropomorphizing, I'm saying it wrong. Anthropom anthropomorphizing birds on this show. I think this is a safe place to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And there is, okay, so there is a little bit of truth to what you're talking about here. Some birds do change the way they look at different times of the year, right? They will molt. So there are birds like the American goldfinch, which in the spring is bright, incredibly bright yellow. The males in particular are really bright with these black wings. And then when it gets to be fall and the winter season comes along, they molt, they drop those feathers, they grow a new set of feathers that are much more brown and dull. So yeah, they brighten up for spring and then they dull it back down in the fall. And that's probably because they're trying to look as attractive as possible to potential mates in the spring before they start breeding.
Oh my God. So it's like they've got their sweatpants and they've got their going out clothes.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that for birds.
hmm
But we still haven't answered the question, why the geographical disparity?
Yeah, that I think this question has a number of different answers. I'm going to give you three answers to this one, I think. So let's start with number one. I think it's a numbers game. There are a lot more species in tropical parts of the globe. So if you go to Ecuador, there are something like 1,500 bird species, whereas in Chicago, you can probably only see a few hundred. And so there are just bound to be more that are bright. And I promise there are also really dull, boring birds in those tropical places. There are lots of little brown birds that don't look bright and exciting in South America. But of course, the pictures you see are of the bright ones. And because there are just so many more birds there, there are also a lot more bright ones. But I also want to say, for anyone who lives in Chicago, there are incredibly beautiful birds in your backyard. Like, for example, blue jays. We think of blue jays as this kind of annoying pest bird, but the blue jay is an amazing looking bird. It has gorgeous plumage. I get visitors from Europe who come and they look around and they see a blue jay and they're like, what is that amazing bird? And if you're used to it, you don't think of it as amazing, but it really is amazing. So I think that we're used to some of the bright birds here. Okay, so reason number two is that a lot of the species that live in tropical places, they tend to stay there year round. And birds that live in one place year round defend a territory. There are a lot of birds you have to defend against because there are so many species and so many individuals in the tropics. So they have developed a lot of traits that end up being good for defending territories, and bright color is one of those things. So remember, we said that a lot of the birds, like American goldfinches, molt into bright and then dull coloration during part of the year. A lot of tropical birds stay bright all year round because they have to defend that space. So if they're non-migratory birds that just live in the tropics, they're often bright all year. So I think that that can make a difference too when you're seeing them and what you're thinking about them.
Can we put a pin in that and maybe come back to that maybe on a future episode? Because I personally feel like that's counterintuitive. I would think you want to be low profile to defend your territory rather than standing out. So, but I want to get to number three, but that just popped into my head as a potential question to explore.
Absolutely. Okay, and then so number three, this one's maybe a little out there, but a lot of the pictures that you see of the most incredible birds, things like the Andean cock of the rock or something like birds of paradise, which are just gorgeous and they live in these places. These are species that live in places where there are enough resources in these year-round tropical locations that their whole mating system has kind of evolved so that females do all the work to take care of the babies. And the only thing that males do is display and attract females to see how many will mate with them, and then the females go off and deal with the nest. So those males have no responsibilities in, building nests or raising babies or anything else. The only thing that gets them to be a more successful individual is mating with more females, surviving. I have to say, surviving and mating with more females. So they develop these mating systems called leks, where it's just an area where a bunch of males display. And in a species that has that particular mating system, that's where you get some of the most beautiful and dramatic and just crazy looking birds, like birds of paradise that have plumes all over and do dances, or something like that Andean cock of the rock, which is
Wow. Okay,
just,
so that's their like IRL version of Tinder. That would be all of them like holding up their photos of their fish, with their ex-girlfriend with her face cropped out in their best tuxedo at a wedding. That's
yeah.
it. Wow. Okay.
And they're putting everything on that account because that's like their only chance, right? So they're throwing everything they can into looking good for the
Why
lady.
is it? I understand that like their genetic material will be passed down the more they can mate. Um, but why is it good for their survival to have more offspring? How does that affect their lifespan?
It probably is not good for their survival. So this is really interesting. If you think of something like a peacock, that male carrying around that amazing, beautiful tail that he has makes him slow to get away from a predator. And it's probably actually not great for survival, but it turns out that if you live a really long life but never leave any babies, then you have kind of failed in an evolutionary sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
getting mates drives the evolution of these amazing bright colors, and that happens a lot. I mean, it doesn't only happen in tropical birds, but it happens. There are a lot of really great tropical examples of that. And so we see that bright colors and cool dances and amazing different kinds of elaborate displays in those tropical birds.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Like we're more like birds than we thought. Okay, we covered a lot and we have like a lot of questions to cover, so definitely come back for our next episode if you are interested in learning about bird poop because a surprising number of you have a lot of very specific questions about bird poop. So that's what's ew, I was gonna say on the menu. That's gross. That's what you can look forward to.
Yeah, we all look forward to bird poop, always.
Always. It's good luck. Maybe we can talk about why it's considered good luck in the next episode. All right, Lauren, you want to bring us home?
Yeah, so thanks for joining our flock again for this episode. We are always happy to have you, and please send us questions to birdbrainqa@gmail.com, and we hope to answer them in a future show.
If you like what we're putting out there, please help us out by liking and subscribing and tell a bird curious friend about this show.